Okay, so we'll start off with a little bit of backstory on the Malaysia content. It was introduced in version 0.77 in GMS, and this content came with 3 different areas. Now, I'm from Baltimore, so I don't know much about things overseas. So, if I get something wrong, hopefully someone can correct me. But anyway, the Trend Zone Metropolis area of Malaysia is based on Kuala Lumpur. Hope I'm saying that right. The capital of Malaysia. Now, there aren't really any quests or dialogue here, so I'm not gonna really go into depth about it, but it seems to be a representation of Malaysia. The Kampung village, however, is just a typical kampong or kampung village in general. It's the term for a traditional village, and they also sometimes serve as tourist attractions, I guess, which is why some of the quests probably mention tourism. The fantasy theme park is based off of the old Genting Highlands theme park. From what we can see in the background and some of the map names, the theme park includes the Cloud High Resort, a merry-go-round, Labuse's Voyage, some sort of dropper, Dinorama Nightmares, Bye Bye Station, and then there's finally Spooky World. There's probably a couple other things too, but that's all that we can tell, I guess. Now, in the past, you may remember the Scarlion and Targa helmets replacing the Zachem helmet as a best in slot equip. That and Gallows being a popular training spot. So since then, the area's kind of fallen wayside, although Bye Bye Station has become Reboot's most popular mesofarming map prior to the nerf, I guess. But you'll still find people botting or hacking here. I guess a few legitimate players farming here and there while trying to stay in the level range. While I was recording the quests and footage and stuff, I came across about 12 hackers vacking mobs, and I only spent about an hour in the area. But anyway, let's jump into Kampung's village's quest lore first. So we'll start off with Malak, the Kampung village chief. And he says that it's so hot outside that he wants to make some cold coconut drinks to combat the weather. However, he's out of coconuts and the monsters are running amok outside the village, so he can't get back to Kampung to collect his usual supply. He hopes that you return in time before he passes out from the heat. So you defeat some monsters and bring him some coconuts, and then he feels better. Later, he says that they need more iced beverages or they're going to sweat themselves into puddles. He asks you to collect more coconuts. You do so, and then he begins to tell you about how Kampung Village is the most wonderful place in the world, minus the heat and the boredom. And he says that there's nothing to do in the village but talk to each other. Recently, everyone's been getting on each other's nerves, and as chief, he feels responsible for keeping the village entertained. And he asks you to gather instruments from the nearby monsters. After you do so, the monsters apparently steal them back and begin to use them as weapons against the village. The chief's plan is to lure them with a beautiful melody and then trap them in a giant hole and bury them. But first, they need the instruments back in order to even lure them with the music. So you get a few back and you return it to them, and then the chief says to leave the rest up to them. At the Muddy Banks, you find a guy named Chiwi who is like some weirdo obsessed with his cat. His cat is named Blondie and has had a string of bad fur days and has clawed out all of her fur. Apparently, she's so upset that she's hiding under the quilt in his bedroom. And Chiwi is so worried that she won't be blonde anymore, so he asks you to get wigs from nearby creatures. You retrieve them, but she scratches it all off again. And Chiwi's upset because his cat is bald and ugly again, and he says that she gets kind of self-destructive when she's upset, even taking a nap in the warm sun, although Chiwi claims that that'll give her wrinkles, and he wants more wigs for her. So as you depart, he's yelling after Blondie, who is stretching, because he thinks that she only does that when she's really upset. When you bring some more back, he's glad that she looks good again, although she starts to touch the wig, and he threatens to lock her in the cellar with no dinner. In addition to his cat, he also tells you about how the local monsters have been stealing tires from tourists' cars so no one can visit. But if they're already there to get their tires taken, then what? But he asks you to defeat them and bring back the stolen tires because tourists will be depraved of seeing his cat. After you bring back the tires, he says that his cat can now get the adulation that she deserves. If only he could convince her to leave the house so people could see her. He knew that he could count on you to end the mayhem and restore Blondie to her rightful metaphorical pedestal. Everything's back to normal, but he just has to find his cat. Actually, within the village, there's a girl named Harliza, but her dad's birthday is coming up and she wants to give him a special gift. He's a fan of music and collects instruments, so she asks you to find a few Charmer's flutes for her. They have to be authentic though. And after retrieving them, it's apparently just enough to make a full collection. Apparently, her dad is also planning to throw a big birthday party. She wants a surprise gift for the guests, tall hats. And after you get them for her, she begins to gift wrap them for the party. Apparently, now the party started, and so most of the guests have brought their kids with them, but the kids don't have any gifts. So she asks you to get lucky hats for them before the party ends. Now that the party is winding down, they want to have a huge bonfire. Unfortunately, they don't have enough wood. And she asks you to grab some dented barrels to burn them for the bonfire. Getting back just in time, she says that they were about to burn the dining table, but it'll be a birthday party to remember. There's some random chick in the fantasy theme park, and right when you meet her, her stomach grumbles, revealing that she's hungry. She has a craving for Kangkong Belacan, whatever, from the local specialty shop in Kampong. After you bring her back some, she gets a stomach ache from eating all of it, and she asks you to bring her some guavas or a large glass of fruit juice because it will put her stomach at ease before she has an accident. So you get that, and she feels better, and also she thinks she looks bad without a scarf, and says that they're must-haves for a fashion icon such as herself. So she wants you to get her some scarves. And after you get her some, apparently her sisters were so jealous of her new look that they stole all the scarves. So go get some more. And then you get some more, and that's about it. So for the main part, in Kampong Village, you meet this guy, Liam, and he notices that you're not from here. And he kind of asks you how you like the village, and it's nice to live an old-fashioned life in Kampong, but he wants to see the city. But unfortunately, he doesn't have any lucky bus tickets, so he can't just hop on a bus. Of course, that means he asks you to get him some. And after getting some, he decides to head to the bus station right away. But now he's worried that he'll run out of money because prices in the city are high, and also he has no money. He wants you to get some Viking helmets so he can sell them in the city market for the cash that he needs to travel with. So afterwards, he was just so excited to go to the city that he forgot the gift that he had gotten for his brother, his little brother. So he asks you to get some toy planes. But yeah, after this point, I assume he actually does travel around for a bit, and then he returns to the village. So I assume this is supposed to be after he travels, but talking with Liam, he asks if you're looking for fun and excitement, and he points you towards the fantasy theme park. And he says that it would have been the place for you, but it's kind of dangerous to go there now. His friend, Idol, told him it's being attacked by some nearby creatures. Idol is the only one keeping the place safe, but the monsters get stronger every day, and she's looking for help. Liam asks you to show him that you're strong enough to help first, by stopping some Vicarollas and helping him build a merry-go-round for the children of the village. Because he had seen a big merry-go-round on his recent trip, and he wants to build one himself, but he needs the materials to work with. So he'll tell you how to find the dangerous creatures after you help him. Although, he kind of tells you just immediately. They're hiding out in Spooky World, and they're clever enough to stay hidden from most people because they disguise themselves as stone statues. And they can be drawn out by fantasy spirit dolls, which he has a few of, but he won't give you until you help him with things. After you help him gather the materials to build with, he basically tells you the same information again. Lately, there have been 2 monsters that terrorize the guests and wreck everything. Brave Maplers have tried to defeat them, but they're sneaky and they transform themselves into something else in order to hide. The fantasy spirit dolls that he's giving to you actually contain real spirits that will break their disguise, and he warns you to not call both of them at the same time. They look small, but they're too fierce to be faced together. And he gives you the spirit dolls and then tells you to go find Adol, who is waiting for you at the entrance to Spooky World. So that's about it. I don't think there's any kind of resolution to killing Scarlion and Targa. Like most bosses, I assume that they just keep returning for some reason. Not a whole lot of lore, I guess. It's just small story stuff. Anyway, if there's anything important that I'm missing, let me know.